Welcome back to Candid Conversations with Carmen. I'm your host, Carmen, and this is my side host,
Ashley.
And our wonderful producer,
T-Nugget.
And on today's episode, we are graced with the presence of an amazing guest. Okay, so she's been on twice already. We had a mishap season 1 that I am still salty about, but I'm trying to let it go. And so I've asked her back because every time she's on, I feel like we have such good conversations. And I feel like it's really beneficial and helpful to a lot of women out there, a lot of people in general. So I'm like, we have to have her back. Like, it's like a main staple. So I am going to not hold off the introduction any further. Mrs. Angel Mathis.
Thank you. I love coming.
Thank you. It is always a good time. Like, it really is a pleasure. I really enjoy myself. So like I said, this season we've definitely had a little bit of a different setup than usual. It's obviously free-flowing conversation. If there's anything that naturally comes up, we just openly discuss that. Obviously we have like an overarching topic, but if we divert from that, or if we decide, hey, we go on a tangent and we just have a good time on that tangent, we stay on it. So I guess without further ado, we will jump right in. Ashley, you've been silent. I can let you.
I am focused on something that does not have anything to do with this podcast. It's this flower. I hate this flower. We be having this on this table every time, and I just want something a little short. No, it's not that. It's the height. I want it just to be a slightly shorter. I always ask Troy, is it in the camera? Is it in the camera? But it's not. Never mind that. That was in my mind as I was just sitting there listening to Carmen spiel. But our topic today isn't it like no cap? Something no cap? What is it?
No, what it is what do you want? No cap. That is the topic of because I feel like a lot of times women in general, firstly women, then wives, then moms, back burner. Like, you put what you want to the farthest end of the spectrum.
Oh boy.
It's like everybody else comes first, and then in your mind it's like, I'm happy if you're happy.
Oh yeah.
But I want to know. And so I was like, I really want to ask Angel, like, and we can all discuss like what do we truly want, because like whatever stage of life we're in. But that was honestly, I was like, what do you want? Like, no cap, no.
This is so not what I thought the topic was going to be. 1. And 2, Vandres, my husband, literally asked me that this morning, and I told him I stopped thinking about it. Like, because I feel like there's so much going on and so many factors that it's going to sound bad, but kind of like, what's the point? And he had that reaction.
No.
Like, you like, why would you say that? But I'm like, you know what? Let's start with somebody else. Let me think a little bit, because he literally asked me this morning, and I was just at a loss for words. I was like, at this point, I've stopped kind of thinking about it.
About what you want.
About what I want, because when it comes to what I want, it directly influences everybody around me, basically my husband and children. So if it doesn't fall in line with mainly the children, with what they have going on and what they're doing, I almost feel like, why? Torture might be a strong word, but why put myself through that? Like, sitting there thinking about, well, this is what I want, and this is how I can plan to get what I want, knowing that it's not feasible in this moment. Not that it's not feasible at all, but just in this moment.
I get what you're saying. Because if you think about it, there's only one you.
Yes.
So if you have to do all the things,
yes,
then it's like, by the end of the day, I'm just going to kick my legs up. If that.
Yes.
If you even have time for that.
Yes.
And so I understand that. Because that was something that I was thinking, because even like on for our mom's episode, which we haven't recorded yet, but we will be, that's something similar. Because I wanted to ask her and get this true perspective, because I think there's a degree of balance in life that you really need to have, but I don't know how you find it always when you're the kind of personality, and a lot of times I do think moms hold this probably more dear than most, the average person, but when you're so willing to forego what you want, because in your mind it's like, I will still be happy if they get with you. Because like my mom, I was like, Mommy, why don't you she was like, I'm gonna go and buy, she was gonna go shopping or something like that. I was like, go ahead and go shopping, treat yourself, do your thing. And she was like, I am. But she said, but if I do, she's like, I'm gonna pick up at least one thing for your dad. Like, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna get him one thing, because when I see it, I gotta grab it. And and I was like, but this is just for yourself. And she was like, yeah, but honestly, I want everybody else to get what they need. And through them getting what they need, I'll have enough happiness. It wasn't that she said she was gonna be just overly satisfied. But she's like, I have enough happiness that'll give me the joy that, comes out of life.
To that point, Valdez asked me yesterday, babe, do you feel like you're balanced?
Really?
I mean, just now this, mind you, after all week he's been asking me about the topic, and I'm like, I don't know. Well, are you gonna ask? No. I was like, no, I just want a free flow. Like, I'll know when I get there. So he asked me, was I balanced? And we started talking about balance and what it looks like for him versus me, and mine was a little different. I think his was more in the happiness vein. Mine was more in the peaceful vein. I said I feel balanced when I'm at peace, and I've learned that I can definitely feel my version of balanced without feeling like I'm necessarily doing what I want to do. But what I have noticed is I feel more like that when I am doing some things. Like my overarching, what I would want to do with my life, no, I'm not doing that. But when I'm making time for myself, like going shopping, I bought myself some shoes for the first time in forever, like 2 weeks in. I didn't even spend $50, but y'all, when I tell y'all, I walked out feeling good. Like I didn't get nobody else anything, and it's back to school. These kids need things out the wazoo. But it just made me feel good, and I was walking out like, Angel, you just need to do this more often. That just brought me a simple joy, and it actually carried me, you know, for several days. Like I'm not pouring so much into everybody else, but I'm also, that one little act poured into me as well.
Do you think, I was thinking about this yesterday because I went out to lunch with a coworker, and he brought his family with us to lunch, and he had 2 small children, and his wife was there, and we were talking, and it was like she kind of discounted what she was doing in her life because she stays at home with the kids all day. She kind of discounted what she was like, well, I don't work and all this kind of stuff. But I was like, girl, yes, you are. You're working. I said, are you taking care of your children? Are you taking care of your house? I said, then by God, you have one of the hardest jobs.
So just like you.
And she just kind of, I think she kind of laughed about it. But do you think that women a lot of times discount themselves with their things? Because I know I've done it. Like, I just did this and this. I didn't just, they're like, but it wasn't what you were doing. You know, you're out there on the front lines, and I'm out in here. But then, like, nowadays, I'd be like, yes, you chose that job, and I chose this one. So therefore, it does not negate what I do just because you chose to do this other thing. But do you think that women as a whole do that, or people in general can negate what they do to try to make other people feel better, or just not even, you don't feel what you do is worth as much? I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think part of it can be us doing it to ourselves. I think part of it is society and growing up and hearing that type of language for sure. My sister, she used to get on me all the time, like saying like you, like, no, you're doing this, this, and this when I used to stay home with Avery. Like, you have a job. She told me, stop trying to put monetary value to everything. Just because you're not bringing in money doesn't mean you don't have a job and you're not contributing, if not over-contributing. Because, especially with stay-at-home moms, it's stressful. You can't run from those little jokers. And then most times, especially depending on what your husband does, if he gets in, like mine was a truck driver, he's tired. So you can't go, tag, you're it. You know, when he walks through the door, your shift keeps going. And then even down to being a career mom, coming home, a lot of times you go into they call it the second shift. Now you're taking over still, you know, so I do think a lot of it is, for me, and the way I grew up, a lot of it is learned behavior and learned language in particular, minimizing, my role.
Yeah.
But as we know, this day and time, I'm very careful with how I speak around Avery.
Yes.
She is going to definitely have a different viewpoint, hopefully, regarding that. But I think even that goes back to, I think it's a human issue, but I think women feel the brunt of it. I was just talking to a friend the other day about how she trivializes herself or minimizes herself in her corporate job. Mm-hmm. She's one of a handful of women and the only black woman.
Wow.
In the room,
right?
Like 10 times out of 10, and it took her her assistant, who is Latino, to really kind of hype her up. Like, stop.
Yes.
Like, you have worth, you have things to bring, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But when you've kind of been in this space your whole life, and then you get to a point where that should be at the forefront of your brain, it's just not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've been really dealing with kind of this space of, and I try not to be like jaded in gender disparities, because I'm in school, and so I did this study, and it was talking about women at home. And in one of the articles I was reading, they were talking about in Australia how there are groups that are trying to make it so that women who stay at home with their children get some type of compensation, or they have like a half of like the husband's, or how much the husband brings in. It's considered the family income, not just like he's bringing in, he's the main breadwinner, but to like give a monetary worth to what a dollar worth to what women do, so that it's not seen as that you're just not doing anything, which was kind of crazy. I don't know how they could quantify it, but they were working to do that. But one of the things that's been standing out to me is like, I work on a team, and there are ladies on my team, and there's another black lady on the team, but she doesn't do what I do. But I feel that sometimes I'm almost kind of trying to still dial myself back from how I normally am to not put people off. And I have to continually tell myself that I am not. But even some of the things that people say to me, it's just like, I don't know how to take it. Because like one of my coworkers told me I was one of the good ones. But he wasn't talking about like as a black.
Wait, I'm sorry.
No, not as a black.
Describe your coworker.
That part.
But it was in a conversation, and what he meant by that was like, because I was like, and he was like, what I mean by that is like, other coworkers that are women, because I go out to lunch with them, and it's just me and a bunch of guys, so it might be like 12 guys at the dinner and at the table, but we have conversations, and I have a conversation with them. I guess like I'm one of the guys. I'm not trying to get with them. I'm not trying to flirt with them. I'm not trying to do any type of thing. I'm not trying to put them down or anything like that. I would joke with them and say a few things, of course. But he was like, having the conversation with you, he was like, I can have a conversation with you and you can make a good argument. He's like, you know how to debate, but not get upset, I guess, or get emotional. And and I just was like, okay, I don't know how to take this. Yeah. Because first of all, it was an unsolicited comment. Yeah. And but then I've had conversations with my other coworkers, and they've said some other things too, like being overly emotional, and all these, like, women are so overly emotional and they get all these kind of different things, and that's why they don't advance, because we were talking about advancement, and yes, and they were like, well, they're a lot more emotional, and they do all this stuff, and they're more likely to not want to advance much because they want to take care of their children. And I was like, and I mean, I had to, because I knew I could feel myself wanting to go to my normal argumentative stage where I go a little bit higher. And I'm not mad, but I'm just getting my point across, so I'm a little bit more expressive. So I had to tone myself down to be like, I said, take this scenario. I said, you have Bob, he goes into a meeting. He says different things. He's not in leadership or anything, but he starts directing people. He says he thinks he should be the lead of a project, and he thinks these people should do this. John, you go over here and do this. Cindy, you do this, and everything. When they leave that meeting, a lot of people are like, I was so glad to see Bob take initiative today. He was so good. You know, he really took the lead, and he was had very good, strong leadership capabilities. I said, let a woman come in and say the same thing. I think I'm perfect for this job. Bob, you start going over and doing this. Cindy, John, you know where you need to be and everything. I said immediately she's going to be characterized as, who does she think she is? That B word always be trying to do stuff that's outside of her wheelhouse. I said, that is what it is. And he was like, well, that wouldn't be the case in ours. He's like, in our friend group, if you came to us, came in and said different things, then in our work group, if you said that, nobody would have a problem with what you're saying. I said, this is a totally different dynamic. And y'all, of course, y'all wouldn't say anything. Y'all, because I didn't want to be like, y'all aren't going to have no good ideas, because they do. But it's not like, the dynamic is different.
It's very different.
The dynamic is different. And so I was like, this is crazy. But do y'all find that to be the case where it's like, if I don't put myself, I don't want to say put myself down, but take away all, because if I were to tell my boss now what I really wanted out of my job, I think he will start then now working to get me out of my job that I'm currently in.
And what, fire you mean?
To find a way to get me either fired or moved out or not in that position.
Yeah.
I really feel like in my heart of hearts, I feel like my boss would do that if I told him.
Because you would seem overly ambitious to him, you would think.
Yes.
He'd be threatened.
Yes. Do you find that men are threatened? Or I say all that to say that, do you think that that women subconsciously know that men will feel threatened by any taste of ambition? So a lot of times we downgrade all the things that in our capabilities to say that we don't want anything or we don't want to do something because we don't want somebody to feel bad about themselves. If we showcase who we truly are.
I don't necessarily know if it's gender specific. Like, I don't necessarily think women are always downplaying, like we're downplaying ourselves for men's sake. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to be a little dumber, so the men in the room feel. Now, I think there are a couple of scenarios. A lot of times women will play the role that is expected of them because at the end of the day, they know how to manipulate it. Because in reality, if you're underestimated, but you can worm your way in and you can get what you want out of a situation, then hey, it doesn't really matter how you think of me. I know I got what I wanted out of it at the end of the day. I think that a lot of times women, I think to what Angel said earlier, it's like ingrained in you from a younger age. So a lot of times it's, well, don't say that or don't do that, or it's a level of almost false humility to say, okay, well, you don't want to seem too boastful or too forward or of what you want, or too ambitious, or just hold off a little bit. Like, a lot of times that is the approach. So I think it's multiple factors that are at play. I think for me personally, I don't know. I mean, the Lord has been working on me a lot. I mean, I've just been put in situations I had never been put in before, and so like to be in a place where, like you said, it's a male-dominated industry. Well, what I do is a male-dominated industry, and the barriers to successful entry are high. So majority of the people, it's so crazy. One time I was sending a picture of my Teams meeting to one of my friends to show her like what my group looks like. Literally. I know I spoke about it before, but like, I'm based out of Detroit. And so I went to Detroit to visit the branch. There were no people of color at all. Like, none. And so then
in Detroit.
Right, exactly. You choosing who you hire, right? Yeah. So it was very, very selective. But then I finally meet one guy, and he's a black guy. And he had gotten hired like maybe 2 weeks after I did. And so we were both like the new people at the company. We're like, hey, meeting and greeting and meet new people and all that stuff. And what the Lord has just really been showing me is that promotion doesn't come from the east or the west. Like, it comes from above. Like, if God wants you to be somewhere, you're going to be there. You have to be in the right place to receive what he's giving you and where he's placing you and do what he wants you to do in that. And I think it takes a mind shift, because when you are placed in a position where you are the person who doesn't look like everybody else, or you don't fall into the normal standards, it's uncomfortable, and you feel like it's different than just, okay, I'm in a new situation. It's like, no, I'm in a new situation. Nobody knows the value that I add, and I've got all of these other potential biases working against me. So you have to get to the place where it's like, okay, I'm going to go into this situation or into this scenario, and I'm going to do what the Lord's telling me to do what he's called me to do. And that is hard. Like, because a lot of times when God be telling you to do does not make sense, for starters. You be like, that's not correct. Like, that doesn't, that doesn't fit. And so it doesn't make sense. So then it's like, I already look crazy and I gotta look crazy. So it's like, it makes it a lot more challenging. But I think if we're able to shift the foundation of our thought process and I wanted to ask you, going into Avery, if we're able to shift our thought processes when we're in these situations where we're placed in positions or whatever that might look like, so that you have ambition in your job, but at the same time having ambition and pride are not the same thing. And so, like, we have to have a level of humility, like if we're trying to be believers and live our life according to the Bible, all the good things. If we're saying, hey, I need to be submitted to those in authority of me, I need to, God is opposed to the prideful. So if we know that, I need to be operating in humility. I need to be willing to abase and abound. I need to be able to do all of these things that are biblically sound in alignment with my relationship with God. But in doing that, how do I stop my mind from being like, okay, I just did that thing. Like, that meeting went great and I killed it. Like, by the way, I was prepared and I saved the account. Like, if that's how it goes, like, how do I make myself not go into the prideful mindset, give God the glory for it, because he essentially put me in that. I mean, he obviously put me there anyway. I think it's a mind shift change. And that's what needs to happen at all points. So, like, for moms who are working moms, or husbands that are the ones that are the breadwinners coming home, that's a mind shift change. If you're coming to your house, I guarantee the men that be working their jobs, they had to come and be stay-at-home dads, they give it up.
Oh,
they go back. They
used to say that all the time. Like, I would never want to do that.
Exactly. They would quit it. So I think it's a mind shift adjustment that needs to happen, where you say, this is the position that I've been placed in, that the Lord has me in. How do I do that in service to him with my heart in right standing? And I feel like he'll fill in the rest for you if you do it right. But to what you said about Avery changing the conversation, the narrative that she hears, how do you do that? And then have you already changed your mind because you've heard the general push it down, don't be so competitive, just let it slide.
Don't hurt his feelings.
Don't hurt his feelings. You've heard the essentially die down, dim your light mentality. Have you gotten past that within yourself in order to pass that on to her? Or do you know, like, hey, this is something I'm still working through and I just don't want that to be an issue for her?
I think I'm still partly working on it. I think I'm more comfortable with it. But I feel like every time I'm speaking to her about something or reinforcing something, it helps me a lot. And it's even across the board, because I used to get the same thing about relationships. Like, you might, you don't say this, you don't say that. And I love my mama to bits. But even now she's like, Angel, did you have to say it like that? And I'm like, yes, I did. Because I've been with this man over 11 years. When I hit a tone, he know, oh, she's serious. Okay. She ain't going to have to ask me a sixth time. And literally, if he was at the table, he would agree, like, yeah, she got to do that. Then I know I don't hit my limit with her. But Avery, my goal is to raise kind children and good citizens. So I don't want her to necessarily have a chip on her shoulder or to walk around like I'm all that in a bag of chips. Can't nobody tell me anything. But I want her to be confident. And I tell her that. Now ask. I try to be consistent when I talk to her. And when we talk about things like who she is, what she's capable of. You can do anything you want to. No job is above or beneath another. It's about what you're doing that's bringing you happiness, that is safe
Yeah.
and legal, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
But I just try to be consistent, and when the opportunity opens, I just reinforce. I always tell people too, like, I want my daughter to be a dragon. When dragons, you know, granted they're not real, but you know, usually they don't bother anyone until they're bothered. But people know once you bother them, you don't bother them.
Yeah, after that.
Yeah, you don't bother them after that point. I want her to feel that empowered, that she can go into a room and yes, you might feel nervous. Yes, you might feel out of place, but you're confident but I know who I am, whose I am, and what I bring to this table, and I deserve to be here. And no one be able to tell her otherwise.
Yeah.
So I would say in its most basic form at this age, with her being 9, I'm just really trying to impart into her self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah, I know somebody said something just recently that was so interesting because, you know, everybody's always talking about having a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And they were like, why do you want somebody to put a seat at the table? There are chairs all around. Why not just bring your chair to the table? Like, nobody can stop you from sitting at the table except for you. And so when I heard that kind of shifted a little bit of how I thought about different things of people we always are. I feel like I have always been taught and heard that somebody had to do something to get out the way or to move out the way for you. And it's like, no, if you have the capability and the skills, you already have a seat at the table. You just have to put yourself at the table. You choose to sit in the back or against the wall or not in the room at all. But sometimes you just have to open the door, walk in, and get a chair. And it might be in a closet, but you go in that closet, you get your chair, and you put it at the table. You know? And so that is kind of where I think I've been starting to realize that, you know, I can be who I need to be and take it. And I think that's one of the things that I love seeing when I do see you talking to Avery, because you were like, you want to do it differently. You don't want it to be exactly the same. And then seeing her in the last year or so just blossom into just a really well-rounded young lady, and her love of reading and even getting outside of her comfort zone, like when she plays softball, and talking with her teammates, because she wasn't very a chatty Cathy. Now I'm not saying that, but she started having conversations with them and interacting and everything. It was like she was like, and within me, I have enough to have a conversation with you if I want to, and I don't have to feel pressured to talk to you if I don't want to. Yes. And I think that's something that's a good thing, is that to not have to feel that peer pressure to be like, I have to be friends with everybody and everybody has to be friends with me. It's like, no, in the space that I need to say something, I'll say it, and if I don't feel like it, I'm not. And I think most people should be in that place to be like, you know what, I don't have to be anything but who I am, no matter where I am.
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
Oh, thank you. It makes me feel good. Because I really do try not to push her or Assad, even with him being so little, to do anything that they're not comfortable with. Because I remember when I was little and being made to do certain things, and I genuinely was uncomfortable, you know, and I think me kind of giving her that space, because that it just so happened to be the game Ashley came to, which was it the last game?
It was the last game.
That's when she kind of opened up.
Oh wow!
But I never said anything to her about it. She's very, I always say she's black and white. She's gonna do. She knows what she wants to do and what she doesn't want to do.
Okay.
Period. And I noticed when I was young and I was trying to push her, it would cause frustration on her end, frustration on my end. And I noticed if I just kind of suggest, she'll do it at her own time when she's comfortable. And that's what I've always ever cared about, her just having that, to feel safe in that. You know, mommy isn't going to make me do anything I don't want to do, and I can do it when I feel like I can do it. Because when she does it, every single time she's going to come back and say, Mommy, I did it. And she's proud of herself. It has nothing to do with me. It's a decision she made with herself. But changing the narrative is very, very It's a lot, especially when you feel like, to what we were talking about before, I've never really worked for men, honestly. Since I started working at 16, I've had maybe 1 or 2 male supervisors.
Wow.
That whole time.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact, I always call my college job like my first real job. It was a woman, and she set the bar so high for me regarding what a great leader looks like.
Yeah.
It was hard for, to come behind that and deal with anyone who didn't have those qualities, to be quite frank. But it worked out. Every person after her was a woman except for one, and that was really, really brief. So I think from that perspective, there are certain things that I've never probably had to experience.
Yeah.
Do you think that having a woman boss is better than having a man boss? Or that they have something that could assist? 'Cause like, I don't think I had women bosses, but a lot of them...
I've
Or
had
kinda
male
hot
and
mess.
female bosses. The men that were my bosses were completely unproblematic. They literally were like, autonomy, do what you do. We trust you. Do your thing. Ladies that I had that were bosses, they varied. It was some that were like, do what you do. Like my current boss, she's like that. Do what you do. I trust that you're going to do what you're supposed to. You have these metrics, hit them. As long as you do, you get your money. Like, that's essentially her approach. If you need my support, I'm here for you. And I'll make sure you have everything you need to do your job to the best of your ability. I like that. I've had bosses before that were like, this job, as hectic as is, but I'm going to add extra just for the sake of it. Like, that was how it worked. So I've had it both. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think gender, if the person doesn't have gender biases, that is your boss.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think, or like blatant ones that are going to cause problems with your day-to-day job, then I don't necessarily personally care for that matter. It's like, as long as you're doing right, I don't care if you're a male or female. But I've had it both. I've had both, and honestly, the women were the ones that...
I've had like one problematic. Like, the men were more passive aggressive than anything. Anything. And my current boss, he's nice. He's just we're learning each other. I haven't been there long, but he's overall nice. And my direct supervisor, he is just really about getting things done. So I don't really have any issue or anything with that. But in the past, the boss I think I worked for the longest, he was one that was very interesting because he was just a very passive aggressive. But then the lady that I worked for before him, she was kind of crazy because she had me cleaning desks and cabinets and like wiping down the whole office, and I was an IT.
I didn't expect that.
So, that's a little different. But I think, I was just wondering if you saw that, or was it that those women that you worked for were just such high caliber women in themselves that their leadership just was a part of them. And
I absolutely think that as individuals themselves, they were all very confident women, self-assured women. This is gonna sound bad, and I hate to use it, but catty. They weren't any of that. But the men I worked for, I'm kind of like you. I don't think it was a gender thing. I never really had any issues. And looking back, I think I really honestly just had people who were like, as long as you do your job, you're fine. Like, really, really think about even the high school. And even my current boss, who is technically my sister. She's the same way. She's the same way. And they were... No one has ever had an issue with having a hard conversation. Thankfully, I've never had to have a real hard conversation. I will say I'm a good worker, but the way they ran things and the way they handled things and did things was just in their own way. My most interesting one, I would say, was when I was teaching. my direct supervisor, which was technically the department head. We were social studies. She was the most hands off, but she was a move all by herself. She was really what's the word? The words you were saying before.
Yeah.
People could attribute those to her.
Yeah.
But she had to. We were teaching in South Fulton.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
The audience.
And she reminds me of my sister in a little bit at Boss Wise, because it was like, okay, I gave you what you're supposed to do. I gave you the tools you need. Go be great. Boop. Like,
Yes.
there was no hand holding, no coddling. Those kids, they beat you down today. Guess what? You better be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think, the first year was horrible. But the second year, I appreciated it. I was like, you got to. It's like you're in a jungle, y'all. But yeah, to that point, I don't see a difference gender-wise. But definitely, every woman I've worked for, as an individual, I feel like they were on their own force, hands down, and it just carried over into the way that they ran their respective businesses.
Yeah. So, do you think that you would see yourself as being a boss, like to have like employees and staff and things like that, or do you see yourself more so in the capacity? Because like I know people always, like if you in business school, they also, do you want to be an entrepreneur or do you want to be like in sales or whatever?
Or entrepreneur.
Oh,
Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, is that how you say it?
It's an entrepreneur and then there's an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is where you work for
somebody
else.
So that's what they're asking. They pose it, but they don't say it like that. You know, we're not that advanced. So yes. And so do you want to be either of those things? And so I was always like, not the entrepreneur. Like I'm trying to work for somebody, pay my check and get me home. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Do you see yourself, like, let's say the kids are good. Like Avery's killing the game. Asad is killing the game. Valdrez killing the game. Everybody is killing the game. Do you see yourself like being a boss, having direct reports, or working somewhere that's like your dream career and you're like, you know what, I'm growing. I'm just being grown, through this.
I feel like y'all were in the car with me and Valdrez. Like, we talked about this too. Lord, we literally talked about this morning. First of all, y'all, we were up at 6:30 a.m. Asad's nose was bleeding, but that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, he fine. Okay. He's fine. But we talked about that. And interestingly enough, it came up because we were talking about Avery. And we were talking about school and college and things of that nature that is years and years from now. But I don't think so.
No?
No, and I say that in a family full of entrepreneurs, literally, even back to my grandma, my maternal grandmother. Right. I would not. I would be one of those. I've seen what comes with it, and I don't think I want it.
Really?
Now, with that being said, what I'm talking about here and now, of course, we talked about that, and I told him, I said, when you just got so many moving parts with kids, and you're getting that out of the mud, literally. Like, I've seen, even my sister I work for, she's an entrepreneur. Like, that is not for the faint of heart to create, something that's going to sustain your household. Even money aside, though, I don't think I would.
No.
Now, with that being said, when I had this conversation, and that's not to say it won't change, y'all, but when we had the conversation, we were actually talking about Avery.
Okay.
And he was saying he would want her to.
Oh.
And I was saying I would not want her to.
Okay.
Look, we talking about our whole kid. Like, she won't have to make the final determination.
No, but I think a lot of times that could be helpful because what you say you want for her is essentially the best life, right? Like, you want her to have the best life.
Yeah.
So if you're saying I want her to not, and he's saying I want her to, y'all both have your reasons for that.
Yes,
so
he absolutely does. And his thing is the freedom, the being able to come and go as she chooses, but that's also a big thing for him.
Yeah.
When it comes to our family and why he does what he does now. So he can have the freedom and the flexibility to be home when he wants to be home.
Yeah.
That's important to him.
Yeah.
Stability right now is important to me.
Yes.
So that's why I'm like, no, I wouldn't want her to. But I say that I'm realistic. It's at the end of the day, it's her choice, and if she were to decide later on in life she wants to be one, we're gonna be down like 4 flat tires trying to make sure she has what she needs. But I told him, I said, I've just seen what the stress can do. I wouldn't want her to do that, but I also know that's not my choice. And now that I'm a talker, y'all, and as I talk, I work things out in my head. And now I'm thinking about something my mom used to say all the time, especially when it comes to my sister. She's like, Angel, leave her alone. God built her for this.
Yeah.
And, really, you know, so I don't know. It really could be she could, and God built her for that.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm built for that, quite to be quite honest.
Yes.
And my sister, you know, despite everything and literally getting it out the mud, you can tell it. Yeah. So look at her.
No.
Right.
Like, you talk about, you know, y'all should have her. She'd be a great one. Yeah. You know, the way she's, you know, maneuvered, and she is very much, she be all on her reckless faith. That's what she call it too.
Really?
Reckless faith, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So she to see that, but now that we're talking, looking at it through my lens, I think I look at it and I'm just like, I don't see how she did it, but she was built for it. She was built for it. So
yeah,
you know, I would not want to, but the more we talk about it, I can kind of see why God may want me to. Going back to your first question.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like we had a red table now. It's been deep.
But no, I think because sometimes I think God aligns your path by getting you different steps. So he'll show you different things. So he'll take you on this one part and you'll be like, okay, I got that. And that's in my bag. And then I got this and I got on my bag. And then I got this on the bag. And then sometimes he has people that are leaders or trailblazers for you to be able to see what the mistakes that they've made and the things that they've done. So you're like, I won't do it that way. I know how I would do it like this. I don't want to do that. And then to move it. Because I was thinking about it. I've always said, I don't want to be a teacher. I just really don't feel like I'm called to do that. But as more and more as I have gone through this process, I've been really contemplating being a teacher on the graduate level.
She was like, "Not."
Thank you for quickly clarifying.
On the graduate level, but to be a teacher and to be able to show different people, because I feel like there's so much that can be given to people, but that's not for now. I know it's not for me now. I'm not supposed to be a teacher, but I think in the future I may be. I mean, I've started writing down different things that if as a teacher I would do, and like how I would do my lesson plans and all this kind of stuff, and like thinking out that kind of stuff, because that's how I think. Once it's in my mind, I have to write it out, because if not, it'll be just stuck there and I'll be just sitting there thinking about it a lot. So I was like, okay, let me write it out. But what I say all that to say is, like, God has given you like different things that he's been telling you to do. And we already know there are some things that we've talked about that you should have been doing and have done already that would have made you what we're currently talking about.
You're right. And Breeze asked me about one of those things literally 3 days ago.
Yeah.
It's like God prepared me for this whole session.
And so like I'm really what I'm waiting for now is for Angel's women's retreats that she'll be having.
Oh my gosh.
For ladies to come together and
Is that really something you want to do? Because you would be phenomenal.
I've been wanting to do it for a year. Ashley's right.
Oh my gosh. Literally all you have to do is just be like, I'm doing it. You have people attending already. That's all you have to do.
Really, she will have to just say,
like, I'm doing it.
All she has to do is send out an invite to say that she's having it on the days that she's having it.
But I feel like Angel's like me. Like if I have an idea, like it will maybe be an idea in my mind, but it's not like I'm just gonna act on it like that.
No, but
I'm like,
years.
yeah.
but you know, I'll say stuff a lot.
Yes.
Y'all know it'll be.
Yeah.
It'll be 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, I probably should do that. Maybe that might be something I might be interested in. But some things have to get in line. Some things have to fall in place. I've got to see some things. Then it'll come back and I'll be like, you know what? I might do that thing. And then some time goes past. And then it's like, and people want you to be quick.
Yeah.
But if you go quick and you're not ready, then you know, like, oh, it could fall to bits. I know that I'm not prepared for it. So I understand.
And I'm that kind of way
Yeah,
too. Like,
but
I'm not,
you the
like,
retrieve.
there's a lot of things that are on my heart that I don't even tell people about. Or if I do tell it's very, like, sporadic. Like, and a lot of things I think people think I just be doing.
Like, I think people think that. I mean, maybe some people who don't know you.
Like,
But
just off the rip. Because, like, I'd be like, let's go on a trip. But I've thought about it, like, for a long time. Probably about a good couple of months for me to do it. I don't think there's been really anything that I have really just thought about for years and years and years and just not have done. I've done some portions of it. It may not be complete, but I've done some portions of it in it. But I think that the building blocks of everything that you have is setting you and gearing you for where you need to go.
Yeah.
So right now, like when Angel was like, maybe I need to start a business, my mind just was immediately blew up with some of the things that I already know are in her toolbox and all of her resources and all her different things.
Yeah.
And seeing as how, I still have this business that I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with. You have all these different things, and I feel like as time goes on, God is building whatever it is that He has for me.
Yeah.
That is completely all the pieces are coming together. They may not look like they go together, but when you throw it all and you shake the bag together, it's gonna come. And then you start pulling them out, and you're like, "Oh, that fits here."
Yes.
And the puzzle piece is a whole thing. It's just the pieces are right now out of space, and I might try to fit it here. And it's like, well, that doesn't fit. I don't want to discard it. I just have to wait for the time that it actually fits into that space. And so I think that's the thing with all of our lives is that all the pieces in this moment in time, she might not know exactly what she wants out of life. No cap, or she doesn't want to think about it yet, or she's thinking about it but she doesn't really want to expound upon it because it may be seeming far-fetched or not attainable in this moment. But then at the same time, so in that moment that piece doesn't fit, but there are other pieces that she's working on and things that she's doing that are getting her ready for when that time comes, when that picture needs to unfold. It will be there.
You put that so eloquently.
Well said.
But yes, I keep asking her when she's going to have one because I will be there then.
She does.
Yeah, for real.
She does. You know what? You're right. And honestly, right now, it's something I need. Honestly, that would do me a lot of good to attend something like that. And so Carmen. Has Carmen met Assad?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? You met his best foot forward version. But I was just talking to somebody. Like, I finally feel like he's evening out, and Assad is something else. He's fire. That's the best way I could put it. He's fire. He's a great kid, but I finally feel like he's evening out. And I feel like I could possibly start, doing things like that because I can, I feel like he's becoming a little bit more independent.
He's a little lion.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yes, but I already told her, me and him, we down like 10 toes down, me and Assad. We be riding.
Child. It's about time for him to pop back in.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's good though. I don't want us to go too far over. But I before we conclude, I know we started off with what do you want, no cap. I think even though we didn't just hammer something down, I think it was the road to what you want. Ashley, we didn't answer the question. I don't know. What do you want?
What do I want?
Yeah. No cap. Before we close out the episode.
No cap. Like, I told you I want to be married. I can't
Yes.
think because I think about that saying. You were
Yeah, I want to my name dropped.
yes. So I want to be married. I want to have a house.
Yes.
But I don't want it to be just any house. I want it to be a house on land. And I want it to be a place that's a refuge for other people. That has a place where when they come, they feel like they can, they can't live there, but they can stay, have a good time. Like they feel calm and it's a peaceful situation when they come there.
Yeah.
And then also to be able to have a space in that is everything.
Yeah.
Like the studio space, the living space, the fun space. Like it's a retreat almost.
So a mansion.
Well, we already know that. But that's but I'm just like, but it has all those spaces. Yeah. Like it has that. But I want the land, but I want enough land that if need be at any point in time, if mommy and daddy ever needed to come and live, we could build them a house on that space. Because they wouldn't want to live with me. Yeah. But they could have their own space on my space. And I could be able to check in on them and if any of y'all ever needed to come and have something, we could build y'all a house on there too if we needed to.
That's good.
Yeah. And then I want my doctorate. I want to walk across the street for that hat.
So that's right around the corner.
I know. I'm going to have that hat. Y'all, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I don't know. But that's also a scary thing. Is what do I do after that? Like
after you finish your doctorate?
Yeah, because like that was a goal. Like that's a goal that I've checked off my list. Like once you start checking off your list, then what's the next goal?
Oh, is that how you think of it?
Yes.
I don't know. Like you replace a goal with another goal.
I have something else because if not, I feel unmoored.
It's very much like my sister, Breezy. She's very much the same way. Like, what's next? But you just said it. You want to teach. Well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not want to teach, but that's where it seems like it's kind of shifting.
Yeah, I could teach. But then that's not really a goal. I'm just like, ooh, I just want to be teaching. But if I did, that would be something I did.
But like there's a new challenge.
That's kind of, I have my goals and then the things I do. If that makes sense.
Oh, it's like separate
categories.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I'm just the things I do.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things like things that I do. Like I go on trips and there are things that like a goal for mine is to go to Tahiti.
Yeah.
That is a goal. But going on trips is something I do.
Okay.
Getting my doctorate was a goal. That's something that I'm doing. And I will get, that's a goal to meet.
Yeah. So teaching would be something you would do once you got it.
Yes.
Okay, but it's not necessarily a goal.
It's not a goal. And I don't necessarily, I don't want to make marriage a goal because that is not something, that's not good. I feel like that's a different level.
That's just like your heart's desire.
That's just something
like
I want. But goals are something that I want.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm like, I don't want to make it a goal because then I don't want to be idolizing it either. And because I don't want to get to that because then I can be single-mindedly about because you know how I am when I lock in.
Yeah.
It can be a little intense and I don't want to be that.
Oh, you don't want to be thirsty.
No, at all. And I'm not that anyway. So it would be really out of my.
You don't want it to look thirsty.
I don't want it to look thirsty. I don't want it to go into that mindset. But so no cap. What I want to be married. I want to have a house a home and a house that has a place of refuge for others and for myself. And land. Yeah. And I don't just want that to be my only property, but I want other properties as well.
Yeah.
And I want to do something that impacts the world. That's something that is no cap, something I want to impact the world. That when I die, people will be like, wow, she did that. That impacted us.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I'm sitting up here like,
wait, who wants to come behind that?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening.
What about you?
I feel like I've been in a weird spot. I feel like even since the first episode of the first season, I think what I want has been just a hard thing for me because I'm like, I get into a place of like, I'm content. So like, if I'm content, then I'm like, that doesn't mean I don't have goals. I probably need to set some new ones because I've essentially hit a lot of the ones that were already on my list. But I don't really know. Like, I mean, we had the episode thought about it and everything. I'm going to ask you the question. I don't even know my answer. But in reality, I mean, I was thinking, because the other day I was thinking like, I was like, Lord, I was thinking about buying a house. And I was like, Lord, I want to buy this house. So like on one of the episodes this season earlier in this season, I said I want to buy a house like in the next year's time or whatever. And I want to buy it. Like, I don't want to be like paying, like have to pay on it. I want to buy it. And so I was like, which I still feel is attainable. But I was like, the Lord was just really like laying on my heart. Like, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing to have that as a desire and have that as a want. But I was like, in the house that I would be wanting, like, what do I want in it? Like, how do I want it to look? All those things. And the Lord was like, why do you want the house? Like, why do you want to have this house? And so I was like, why do I want to have a house? Is it so I can have something to boast in? Is it so that I can have something to be a comfort? Because like at this point in time, I'm like, what am I going to do in this house by myself? Like, I'm going to be in it and I'm going to be living in it, and it's going to be great and fabulous, and I'll get in set in my ways because I'm very particular when I get my own way. So I was like, when I get into this house, what do I want it for? And what do I want out of it? So those kinds of things that are like desires, like I still want a house, but I want to have the house the right way. And I want it to be like to enrich my overall life. Like, I don't want to just have it as a thing I add into possessions. Like, okay, I have a house. Then you have, I mean, I've never been a car person, but you have your dream car or whatever. And then what? Like, it's empty. I want my life to be enriched with good things, like with things, like not physical, like possessions, but like people that I'm like, you know what? My friends are cool. Like, we're together. Like, I have a good support system. I have all these different things. Like, my career, like, do I want to grow in this career? Or it's like, and if I do, why? Like, why do I want to keep moving up the chain? Because I was like, I want my check to get bigger. Like, that was my motivation. Still is. But I'm like, why do I want my check to get bigger? So that I can buy more things. It's not like I'm spending money like that anyway. Is it so that I can feel like I'm more secure? Like, my trust is in my funds. Like, okay, if anything goes awry, I know I can at least, it costs how much? Okay, I got it. Like, that's what I was like relying on. So it's like, the Lord has been really just showing me, like, you have these things that are essentially goals, but they're goals because why are they your goals? Or like, why are they the things that you want? And so I'm like, why do I want these things? And then when I was really examining, I was like, I don't necessarily have these like extravagant desires for my life. Like, I'm not really trying to live in a mansion. Like, I like the idea of having a really nice home, well built, enough space, but I don't just like excess. Like, I'm not just we've got 13 bonus rooms, pick one. When people come over, I'm not trying to host like that. Like, I'm not trying to have people all over all the time.
I can't see you hosting like that.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm like, no. Let's be real. So I'm at this point, it's like, there are things that I want, but I'm really trying to get to the why behind why I want them. And so then they aren't misplaced desires. So I'm not just saying, okay, I want this to feel something else. I want to be like, okay, well, actually, I don't want this. I want whatever feeling it was going to give me or whatever.
Oh, that's a good one.
And so that's what I have been trying to, the Lord has been showing me. Because I was like, Lord, I want this and I want this. And he was like, Carmen, why? And I was like, I don't even think I really want that. I don't even know if that's really what I want. I want what it feels instead. And so that I want to be fully whole within myself, and I think everything else will fall in. That's what I think. What about you?
I love that. That's so funny because I should have been doing it recently with a lot of things.
Yeah.
What's the why?
Yeah.
Is it necessary? Is it needed?
Right.
But you hit the nail on the head. It's the feeling.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even the feeling. It's what society says.
Yes.
That you should have.
Exactly.
You're at this place in your life and you should have this. You should have that. You should have attained this. You should have a house. You should have kids. You should da-da-da.
Right.
But when you really put a why behind that,
Right.
it makes you think. It really makes you think hard about it.
Yeah.
Is it something that just seems, for me anyway, it's just it's a good idea. It's gonna make me feel good.
Right.
It's because I can.
Yes. Yes.
And lately, I've even been trying to parent that way. Actually, asking the why. Okay, you broke it. We're not even gonna go back and forth about that. I'm not gonna lay into you about that. But why did you think it was smart, easy for you to climb on the counter and try to get that yourself?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the why.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't moving fast enough. Well, now we know that's unsafe.
Right.
So let's focus on the behavior. Let's not do that again.
Right.
And we're not going to go into it about what happened.
Yes.
You know, because there's no point. You know, you
Yes.
already know that, you messed up.
Right.
But I've really been trying to do that lately. Attribute a why to everything.
Yeah.
To really make me see, is this something that, almost like you said, is it going to enrich me?
Yes.
Is it going to make my life better?
Right.
Is it that valuable to me?
Yes.
At the most basic level, is it that important to me? And girl, even down to, why am I accepting invitations places I don't want to go? Like, I know they don't like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they tolerate me, which is rare. So you probably know what I'm talking about. But, it's not going to fulfill me.
Right.
And I think that one question can change so much.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy that you brought that up, because I noticed it about a day or two ago that I've really been trying to make that, before I make any decision,
Yes.
the why. What's the why behind it?
That's good.
Yeah. Why is key?
Really is.
Why is key? No cap.
Episode title change. Okay. All right. I think we hit. I don't want to go too much over. Thank you, Angel, for coming.
you.
It is really, like, honestly, I
Yeah.
feel like every time I'm like, this is a good episode. I'm like, this is like, they be like my favorite ones of the season. So I thank you again for.
And every time you're like, time, I'm like, dang, like, I feel like we just got going real good. We always just have such a great conversation.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
flows very organically. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, per usual. And thanks everyone for watching. We will see you in the next one.
See y'all.
Bye. Thanks for watching our latest video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.